Hello, good evening. How are you? Hope you're having a fantastic evening. Welcome. Tonight, are you living with a man-child? Would you like to know how to navigate a marriage if you're living with a man-child? Do you avoid open and honest conversations or communication, and you just feel like a naggy parent with your partner? Are you tired of being lonely? Perhaps in the evenings your partner's off watching video games or drinking, or perhaps just doing other things, doing things with their mates, and you're a bit tired of it. Or are you exhausted of carrying the household load and you're absolutely sick to death of it? You do understand that attacking or criticizing or belittling is actually hurting you. It's hurting your partner, it's hurting your relationship, and you understand that fully well, but you're a bit stuck. What I see is that a lot of women, they just tend to sort of put it under the rug. It gets in the too hard basket. What can happen though is a sink of dirty dishes. It can trigger resentment and anger in you, and you get pissed off. And the perception of being this pushy, unhappy housewife is apparent because you're feeling it, and you're feeling disappointed with how you got here because the expectations that you've got, they're just not being met. However, what I have seen, without really effective communication, you cannot achieve assertiveness, empowerment, and clarity in your marriage. It's like this revolving door. You just go round and round and round. Growth and understanding are an absolutely vital skill for change, and it's where decisions are made and where your authenticity and your individualization lie, and it's where it comes through. So it is actually what keeps a marriage alive, rather than you judging and attacking. Often you are tolerating your man-child until we can't. And ultimately, what I've seen after 15 years of working in marriage therapy, it actually comes back to a lack of skill and knowledge. It really does. And having the skill to communicate effectively, establish boundaries, gracefully model independence, that's a real important one. You can create a more fully balanced and happier life. So in this video, what you're going to discover is the real reason why men are in relationships with with a man-child. Yes, we're going to actually bring it back to you. There is a reason you are with this man, and I think if you can understand it, it will support you enormously. Also in this video, how do you stop eroding trust so that you do have a more deeper, authentic human connection? And lastly, you are going to break free from that mindset challenge that sabotage your relationship and your authenticity. So this video is absolutely jam-packed with nuggets of gold, with insights, with actionable tips to actually reclaim your voice, reclaim your life, and thrive. So if you're listening to this, hashtag live or hashtag replay, I'd love to hear from you. I always go back afterwards and look and see who's been visiting, and yeah, my whole thing is to give you value. So we're going to dive in. I've got a lot to cover. So what do you think the real reason is that you might be in a relationship with a man-child? So as I'm running through these different reasons, just check in with yourself. So of course you have an initial, we'll call it attraction. Of course you do at the beginning of any relationship. And so some women can be actually drawn to the man-child's charm, that charisma, that playful nature. They're fun, they've got humour, they're spontaneous, and you love it, that initial attraction. Also, what can happen is past experiences. So it's what you lived. Why are you with a man-child? You might have grown up in a family where you were a caregiver at a very young age, where you had a parent who had similar behaviours. You might very unconsciously seek out partners who replicate your family dynamics. You may not even realise this. What's your order of birth? And did you take on some roles of sort of caring or looking after siblings? That can have an implication. Also, you may have this desire to fix or to help. Some women feel a sense of responsibility or a desire to help their partners grow and mature. You've taken that on somewhere. You might believe that you can actually support them in their personal development and create a more fulfilling relationship. Look, I do know a little bit about this. I certainly wasn't married to a man-child, but I certainly lived at the potential and thought that I could help and fix my partner, which is absolutely ridiculous because you can't. You can't change them, you can't fix them, and it's being able to love your partner just as they are. Also, women who get into relationships with a man-child often can have low self-esteem. May not always be the case. Women with low self-esteem, they sometimes feel that they don't deserve better. They can settle. They sometimes find a partner who is emotionally immature. It may balance where you're at. And but what does happen is women grow and they change and they evolve, and then they can actually outgrow their partner. So the low self-esteem that you had in the beginning may disappear. Another reason that you may be with a man-child is that you've got a fear of being alone. Fear of being alone or finding another partner that is going to suit you better. So this you stay in a relationship that perhaps is not ideal, isn't healthy, and is actually hurting you. Sometimes there can be cultural or social expectations, and so we tolerate immature behaviour. We stay in a relationship with a man-child. You may have said "I do" in the eyes of the law and God and the church and your family, and so it's death do us part. And so we just stay in a relationship that perhaps isn't supporting us. Also, there's a lot of investment, don't you think, that goes into a relationship, and long-term relationships particularly often involve an emotional investment, shared experiences, future plans, and often it can be quite difficult to walk away, even in the face of challenging behaviour, even in the face of living with a man-child. And this is why we continue to live with a man-child. And the last point I would make is that fear of confrontation. I hear that a lot. The reasons of why women are in a relationship with a man-child is that addressing issues can be really, really difficult, and ending a relationship can be difficult. It's emotionally taxing, leading some women to actually avoid the problem and any type of confrontation. So I don't know if any of this speaks to you. You may not want to put it in the chat. You may want to be in the chat. You may want to just be generalised. But these are all reasons as to why women are often in a relationship with a man-child. Your man may not have been a man-child in the beginning. You may have been a woman-child. I was a woman-child. I'll put my hand up. I was one. So I'm very aware of that. However, I do see more men children than women. So that's why I'm talking into this, because I really, if this is speaking to you, my hope is you're going to get value from this. I have a brilliant ebook that I've created. If you would like that, put it in the comments. Ebook, please. You don't even have to put please. And I will flick that ebook through to you, and it will give you more of what I'm talking about, because it's not about judging yourself or criticizing yourself or attacking yourself with where you are at. The whole idea is to, okay, let's start looking at this. working with so many couples, people often do leave it way too long before they look at this. And women, if you're listening to this, women can just, it's too hard baskets. So I'm going to jump into what do we do with this? Where do we go with this? If any of this is speaking to you. So how do we stop eroding trust so that you can have a deeper, more authentic connection? Women, I know that's what you want. You want a closer, more connected relationship, and it's difficult if you are with a man-child. However, if you can begin modeling this, if you can lead by example, if you can begin being the change that you would like your partner to be, often we can be in such a cycle of disconnect and pain and worry and overthinking, and we just attack and we criticize and we bite off our partner's heads because we're unhappy. So first place to start is open communication. Set an intention at the beginning of your day to openly communicate. Openly communicate, coming from a place of integrity, of strength, of empowerment, and actively listening to what your partner's saying. And I know if you are living with a man-child, you're going to be filled with resentment. I get that. You are going to be uncomfortable, and you may not want to openly communicate. However, what are your choices, really? You leave, you exit, and the relationship is finished. Or you live in the potential that your partner's going to change. And can you make your partner change? No, you can't. So you begin working with you. And if you're listening to this, you've got a couple of kids, you've made this investment into this relationship, and you're with a man-child, give it your all. I just get to know yourself. So begin with open communication with yourself, but also with your partner. And bring in active listening. Really listen to what your partner is saying. And paraphrase back. Paraphrase what you are hearing him say. That can be really helpful. To stop eroding the trust, another great point to bring in or tool to do is set boundaries. Do you set boundaries? Do you have boundaries where you energetically check in with how much energy you got in your cup? Because if you're cranky, if you're tired, if you're exhausted, and I get it, a lot of the time you will be, however, bringing in some self-care so that you can be really strong in your boundaries, that can be really helpful. You know, a lot of people can be their worst version for their partner. They give it all to the kids, to the work. There isn't a lot left to the relationship and to the partnership because you've actually given nothing to yourself. So to be able to, I've just come off my inner circle group coaching, and we were talking tonight about having a vision and knowing what your vision is. And when you come from a vision-based life and know what your vision statement is for your life, you're going to come from a place of integrity. You're going to know what your values are. You are going to know how you sabotage. So coming back to setting boundaries, you might sabotage because from 7 o'clock onwards, you're not that great. You have a few glasses of wine, the dishes haven't been done, and the naggy part of you starts coming out, the parent part of you. So it's open communication, actively listening, and perhaps noticing your boundaries. And a really big one is lead by example. If you want your man-child to change, you have to change. You have to be the change that you want him to be. And so leading by example. And really checking in with yourself. Am I in a parental role? Am I being the parent to him? So if you are, what do I need to begin doing differently? And I can hear you saying, oh, it's all well and good, Helen. He doesn't pull his weight. He is like a man-child. And you're saying, I've got to avoid the parental role. Just try it. Try it for a week where you stop nagging, you stop criticizing, you stop parenting, you take some long, deep, slow breaths to get connected inwardly with you, particularly if you're starting to lose your temper and you can feel that parental role coming in. It's bring it back to yourself first. That's a really big one. Being patient, that's a huge one. Changing behaviours and building trust takes time, and being able to let go of the expectations is also connected with this. But be patient with your partner's progress, but bring it back to yourself first. Really decide that you're going to communicate more effectively. You are going to actively listen. You are going to notice when you're nagging and when you're criticising. You're going to notice when you're being a parent. It's extremely unattractive. And when you're in that energy, you emotionally find it difficult to connect with your partner. And particularly intimately. I'm not even going to get into that in this podcast because not podcast. This is a Facebook Live. I'm not even going to get into that. I do have a podcast, so that's probably why I've mentioned it. It's called The Empowered Marriage. But anyway, I'm not going to go into that. So, do I want to add anything else to this? Yes, address your past hurts. Okay, if you've got resentment and if you've got some anger, you're going to have some past traumas there. It's being able to work together to resolve the past hurts, not dragging it around, and then when the dishes are in the sink and you get triggered, woof, everything comes up. And look, it can begin with just talking into it, finding ways to talk about this, and it's making a commitment to move forward. Something that can be really helpful. If you are in this place and you are with a man-child, have you got any shared experiences that bring out the adult in you both, which can strengthen your connection? It promotes bonding and it promotes shared experiences. That can be something. Lastly, just on this area that I'm talking into, is focus on the positives. There will be some. What is going well? What's positive in your relationship? Because being able to bring in gratitude can be really helpful. And it's about being able to be vulnerable and take responsibility. This is a big topic. If you are living with a man-child, I get it. I'm just touching on the outside, and I'm sort of throwing ideas to you. I hope something sticks. If something does, pop it in the comments. Hashtag live or hashtag replay. What's speaking to you? If you would like my ebook on my man-child, just let me know in the comments also. So I want to talk into now breaking free from sabotage, because it's a sabotage. It's break free from the mindset challenges, because you're caught in a whole well of yuckiness. It's really important that you identify your limiting beliefs. I've talked previously about limiting beliefs. I don't have a lot of time in this. But what are some of your beliefs? What are you believing? That you're not good enough, that you deserve to be unhappy, that you're unlovable, that you're not important, that you're invisible, because you're tolerating this. Just open that up. What are you believing? I want you to start challenging your negative thoughts. It's actually noticing what you are thinking. Earlier in my inner circle, we were talking about the power of our thoughts and being able to observe your thinking. That's really important. Also, do you practice self-compassion? Do you have kindness? If you're living with a man-child, you could be in the wells of living in masculinity energy. There is no compassion, there's no softness, there's no kindness. And also cultivating empathy for yourself, but also your partner. I'm so mindful of the time. I am rushing out of time. But working on understanding your partner's emotions. Why is he like this? You know, empathy actually fosters this deeper connection, and it can help resolve conflict. But being able to own your own emotions with this, and then asking open questions with your partner, being able to do that, and coming from a place of vulnerability. And vulnerability, you know what, is not a strength. It is actually, it is a strength. It is not a weakness. Sharing your authentic self with your partner, this actually includes your fears and insecurities. Your partner may know that he's a man-child, but he actually just doesn't even know how to talk to you about it. So from this live, do you begin opening up the conversation? You know, I was listening to this Facebook Live, and, you know, Helen was talking about, we need to talk about it. So can we talk about it? Because a really big one is being able to forgive, to be able to let go, being able to let go of past resentments and anger. So, because if you're holding any grudges, and if you get triggered by the dishes in the sink, there's some issues there. There's some wounding and some healing that needs to be sort of worked on, because it is about focusing on the solutions. If we dwell on the problems, it's almost like sludge. It's almost like sinking sand, and we can't get out of it. So it's finding solutions. It's being able to work with your partner to address these challenges. So I hope that something has landed from this discussion with you. You know what? It's a journey. It's a continuous one, but it's understanding, like I've first said, the real reason why you are in a relationship with a man-child. Be honest with yourself. Instead of attacking and criticizing your partner, bring it back to yourself. And then how do you stop eroding the trust so that you have a deeper, more authentic human connection? Go back and listen to what I've just talked into. And then lastly, it is breaking free from the mindset challenges that actually sabotage your relationship and your authenticity. Because it is so important to actually reclaim your voice, reclaim your life, and thrive. It isn't a life sentence. And so I really, my whole thing of bringing this to you is to give you value. Hashtag live, hashtag replay. Would love to hear what has landed, what has really stirred something in you. And if you would like my fantastic ebook, it is a really good one. It's got colourful pictures. If you're a visual, you'll love it. So anyway, on that note, you know what? The power of change is within you. See you next week on my Facebook Live. See ya.